this crowd was something else, let me tell you. Now, I'm a Roman citizen born and raised, and I've been out in the Vatican fields during False Fortuna, and I've been up in the north holding formation against the Frisia, but I've never seen anything to match the bloodlust that day in Jerusalem. It could have been anyone, really. The city was a boiling pot that year, volatile, kept bubbling over, and wearing a uniform put a target on your back the size of one of Hannibal's elephants. You always had a hand at your sword, especially at night. The way it was going, it was only a matter of time before someone set them off. It was just his bad luck, I thought at the time. I thought that he was the one who did it, who set the spark to the whole pile of kindling and took the city up with him. Of course, as it turns out, that wasn't the whole story. I don't know the ins and outs of it. There had been some kerfuffle overnight, but the first that we knew about it was our Optio screaming us out of our beds to get down Pilate's house. It's all kicking off. And a few minutes later, there we all were, marching along, bleary-eyed. Half of us were smashing headaches from the night before, and the lad I'm with, hopping along with one sandal on backwards. So picture this, right? Here's that poor, petrified lad cowering behind me. So fresh off the family farm, he still has manure behind his ears. And there's the crowd, seething and screaming to have some guy done in for calling himself God. And then there's Pilate, who let them do anything they want at this point to stop them torching his house with him along in it. That was the mood they were in. None of us were going to argue when he said yes, which is exactly what he did say, and then scuttled off sharpish like the little rodent that he was, leaving us to deal with the mess instead. And a messy business it was. We did the whipping. Marcus had a reputation for giving it good and proper, so forgive us. We got him up on the hill with the crossbeams, even had a good old argument over what was going on inside. Then the lad found his tongue to say this Jesus didn't look anything like a king at all. But what does a king look like anyway? Some fancy guy in some fancy robes, trying to look fancier than all the others. Anyway, I knew better than most after Baduena that looks can be deceiving, so I shut the lad up right there quick and got on with it. So he's up, right? He's been up for hours, and the two thieves have done all their screaming and got exhausted, and the crowds have got bored and wandered off for good dinner, I expect, and the lad's only gone and won a decent tunic on the dice. Sly little. Marcus only went and took it off of him later on, didn't he? Just when I'm starting to wonder what we might get fed when this is all done with. This Jesus, he must something. And BAM! It turns night. Yeah, you heard that right. It turns night in the middle of the afternoon. 1 minute the sun's blinding my eyes, scorching my head inside my stinking helmet. Next, I can't see if you grab my hand and hit me across the face with it. That's when the lad starts panicking. And let me tell you, there's nothing more dangerous than a young lad with a sword he only half knows how to use and a brain he can't use at all. He's there stabbing at everything, shouting in his heathen Gaulish, and I'm busy trying not to get skewered when the whole earth starts shaking to boot, as if the whole underworld's rising with Pluto himself. And I'm shaking, pretty close to panicking and stabbing things myself. But it stopped. I'd lost track of time, and the lad lost his sword. After I had him scouring that hill for days looking for it. Still never found it. And like that, Jesus was dead. We didn't think to remark on it at the time. What with everything else going on, it was too soon after and the timing was suspect. And we were past exhausted, we could barely keep our blinking eyes open. We just wanted a good meal and a soft bed for a few hours. So none of us really thought anything more of it. For about 3 days.